Hey guys, my guest tonight, Roxy Tart, is going to be talking about the haunted Queen Mary and some other cool stuff. See you in about 5 minutes. Grab your popcorn and snacks. Find a comfy spot, take a seat or lie down, and let me transport you to a place of fantasy, ghost stories, ancient legends, odd creatures, alien encounters, and other magical topics. You may even decide to join the conversation. From faraway lands to your own backyard, with a small dash of pixie dust. Turn out the lights and open your minds. The journey is about to begin. How's everybody doing today? I hope you said well. Hey, my situation has cooled down, okay? It is what in the 70s here. I'm loving it. I want life to stay like this. It's overcast in the 70s. I love it. My name is Charlotte. I'm going to be your host for the next hour. Welcome to California Haunts Radio. I'm really glad that you're here. I hope you're glad to be here too. We're going to be watching for doesn't want to work. We're going to be broadcasting from Facebook and TikTok today, and we're going to be broadcasting over at YouTube, and we're also broadcasting over at Twitch tonight. So just say hello to our things. Now, it looks like there's a lot of news going on. Again, this area that I live in, everybody has Xfinity. So you're going to see us drop off every once in a while. It will pop, just like it just did. It'll pop right back on because everybody's getting off work and they're all getting caught up on their Twitter or whatever they're getting caught up on. So just beware of that. Anyway, I not only do this, but I'm also the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team. We're 45 strong up and down the state of California. And that means if you do have something paranormal, or you think you have something paranormal going on in your house or business, we can get to you. It might take us a couple of days, but we can get to you to help you out. In the case that it takes us a couple of days, what we do is we have mediums on staff that can talk to you by phone. And in most cases, they can calm things down before we get out there. So it helps out. But it won't take us more than a couple of days. Okay. Once again, if you want to find us, you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Twitch. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us at Meetup. You can find me on Instagram at Ghosty Gal. And you can certainly find us over at TikTok and all those other places. So just Google us and we'll just pop up everywhere. Tonight's my guest. I can hardly wait to talk. I've known Roxy via the internet and met her at Disneyland, and it's been almost it's going on the second year now. And she is larger than life, is what I'm going to say. Great person, and I'm real excited to talk with her about a project she is involved with. It's about the Queen Mary. When I was growing up, my father, we would be down at Disneyland probably twice a year, and every time we would go, we would visit the Queen Mary. And then as an adult, I traveled several times there, even took the original ghost tour that they had there, which was, by the way, hokey because they had doors rigged, for the doorknobs to move and stuff. It was just a touristy thing. But it was an interesting tour in that when I was walking near the pool area, the first class pool area, and I was walking in a dining area over there, I felt something go through me. In fact, it was to the point where I got sick to my stomach. And it wasn't the ocean, obviously, because the Queen Mary's pretty locked into where it doesn't sway or anything. And one of the tour guides came up and he said, well, that was probably the little girl. And I said, well, what little girl? He says, well, there's a ghost of a little girl that roams here. And she's known to be attracted to women. So she probably, she might be looking for a mother or whatever. So she ran through me. So that was one of my first experiences of what I call being goosed by a ghost, right? But it took me a few minutes. I had to sit for a few minutes to be able to stand up and finish off the tour. I mean, she just totally, boom, right through me. So that was my big experience with the ghost on the Queen Mary. I haven't had a chance to get up there or out there to investigate the Queen Mary. That's something that's on my bucket list. Anyway, I'm going to bring Roxy in. She could tell you about herself, and away we go.
Hi.
What's up?
What's going on?
It's good to see you.
You too.
Finally, we've been at Disneyland, and then here we are.
I know. I'm so excited. I'm glad we got to do this.
Oh, and one more thing. If you hear a dog screaming in the background, I have a 18-year-old dog that is senile. So he has his moments. So just don't think I'm punishing him or anything's going on like that. He's senile.
All right. Well, on this end, if you hear anything in the background, it's because I have no idea where any of my headphones are at all. So my house has promised to be quiet, but my house is not quiet. So we just roll.
We'll just roll. It's all good. Just like if we disappear for a couple seconds on the internet, it's good. It's the neighbors. So tell us all about you, because I was thinking about talking about your background, but the only person that could do that is you, because you have this incredibly eclectic background.
Oh God, I don't even know like where to start. I used to be a professional pinup and alternative model.
Hmm.
And then I was a journalist in Hollywood. And because of the stuff that I did as a journalist, I started getting invited to different events and I kind of became an influencer from that. So I used to tell people I was a journalist by trade and an influencer by accident. Like that was how I explained it. But it was really cool to get invited to stuff and not have to write about it.
Right.
Like I I felt like I was like breaking some rule or something. Um, but I've always been super into haunts and horror, and I figure we should like stay with that.
Sure.
I'm a practicing witch, and I have been since I was, I don't know, little, real little. My grandma was a witch, and she was really, really into it, and my dad hated it, which made her love it even more. So she would teach me everything. And when I was 17 years old, I worked my first haunt, which was about 100 years ago.
Hmm.
Um, and it was actually Gyro's World of Terror in the Bay Area. And then after that, I worked Gyros for a few years. I did security. I designed rooms. I acted. I worked Screamworks down in Hollister in the cornfield. Just all kinds of stuff. Horror and haunts have always been a huge part of my life. So anything spooky, I'm down.
That's awesome.
Like, let's
That's
do
awesome.
this.
Let's do this. Now you got this project that you're involved in on the Queen Mary, and go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, okay, I have to say, I am not actually part of the
Okay.
team
Okay.
for
Okay.
that. So I have to I have to throw that out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm
Absolutely.
not I'm not part of the team for this new paranormal investigation on the Queen Mary. I am so lucky to be really good friends with Becca, who is the head of the team for the Grey Ghost
Awesome.
Project, which is a brand new paranormal investigation tour that's starting, oh my goodness, Friday.
I think they're sold out. I think they're sold
Yeah, I
out
think
Friday.
so. Yeah. But it's going to run weekends until December, and it is a true paranormal investigation
Right.
as opposed to I know you mentioned the old
Yes.
tour earlier. I loved that tour. It was so much fun. Did you ever get to see the water effect?
No, I never saw that one, that part.
Oh God, it was like my favorite part. They put you were in this room. It was like this at the bottom of the ship, this big metal room, and they had you standing on this bridge, and they actually had like water that came in and like
Wow.
oh, it was great. It was great. It was hokey as shit. Oh God, can I swear?
No. I
Okay.
just got I just got my strike removed on Sunday.
It was hokey as shoot, and and it was very like a la Disneyland, Imagineer kind of haunt type thing. Um, but it was it was so much fun to do. But this is not that. And actually there is a like haunted ship tour that goes on
Mhm.
right now that has been going on. And this is totally separate from that as well. Because
Okay.
that's more of like a story tour
Mhm.
and it's a lot of fun to take. If you love ghost stories, like that tour is so much fun because it tells you about the history of the Queen Mary and they talk about all the different like ghost stories and stuff that's you know a lot of the things that have like built up over the years
Sure.
and stuff like that. But Becca's new tour, the Grey Ghost Project, it's like it's a paranormal investigation.
That is
It
too
is
cool.
taking the tools and walking around the ship, and there's no there's no nothing. There's if stuff happens, it happens. If it
Mhm.
doesn't, it doesn't.
Mhm.
There's no Imagineer magic on on this one. And I've done two um like trial runs for the Grey Ghost Project
Mhm.
with her. And then I've also done other paranormal investigations before the pandemic with her on the Queen Mary. And we have had some nights where nothing, absolutely nothing happened. And we just had a great time on the ship. And like, we get to go everywhere.
That's
I
awesome.
mean, everywhere. It is so cool. But there's been other times I couldn't explain what happened. Like, and I'm like a spooky skeptic.
Okay.
Like, I want to believe, you know what I mean? I really, really do. I do believe that there are like ghosts and spirits and like the other side and stuff like that. But I'm
Right.
like, you got to prove it to me. Like, if you're here, you got to prove it. Like, so, yeah. So I'm kind of like a spooky skeptic.
I like that approach, though. I like that approach. I have psychics on my team that are spooky skeptics as well. You know,
Yeah.
even though they see stuff, they still want to have the extra proof to know that what they're seeing is what, is actually what they're seeing.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And there's been a few nights on the Queen Mary when we were hanging out where I can't explain what we saw. You know, and I'm a science girl. Okay. I'm like, I am a science girl, and I'm also like, I love like learning like how magicians do tricks. And
Right.
I love trying to figure out, you know, when you like watch those paranormal investigation shows and they're like, oh my God, this just happened. And you're like, okay, but a temperature drop like that, it would be totally normal if you walked through this type of space. And you know what I mean? Like I'm that kind of person. I'm kind of like a party pooper when it
Right.
comes but there were a couple times I was like, okay.
Where do you think, since you've done that a couple of times, you've been out there a few times, where, like when you talk about this activity, where did you experience this activity out there?
We did a lot of stuff up in the front of the ship by the rope holds. So we did a lot of stuff up there. We spent a lot of time up there. So we had some really cool stuff happen up there. You're not allowed to go in the pool anymore, unfortunately, which is so sad. Because there's nobody to repair it. Nobody does that kind of work anymore. And so if it gets destroyed, then it's destroyed. Like, but years ago when you could go, we had, I'm not going to say that we had an experience in the pool area, but we had like one of those, you're already like worked up, you know? So everything is like on high alert type of things. But our tour guy, we did a tour, and it wasn't the haunted tour. It was the steam and steel tour, because I love ships. I grew up on boats. My family, my dad is a huge boat person. I love ships. So it was my birthday, and I wanted to do the steam and steel tour and go down and see like the engine room and stuff like that. So we went, but the only people on the tour were me, my husband, boyfriend at the time, Keegan, and my friend Katie. Nobody else was there. So this guy was so excited about how like passionate I was about this tour and seeing the ship. And he was like, do you want to go other places? And I was like, yeah. So that's how I ended up seeing that water effect.
That's wild.
He took us in there and he turned it on for us, but he also took us into the pool. And it was so cool because he took us into the pool. He let us walk around. He let us do all kinds of stuff. I got to go over by the slide and like pose on the slide. And I have a bunch of friends. We used to do Ink and Iron on the Queen Mary, which is a like rockabilly car show. And I have so many friends that got to go in there and do photo shoots. Like I have pictures of my friends sitting on the slide and like on the side of the pool and stuff like that. But then he was like, do you want to go in the locker room? And we're like, yeah. So he takes us into the like changing room, like the locker room. And he has each of us step inside a shower stall, and he closes the curtains and he turns off the lights.
Wow.
Okay. I was in heaven. This was like the coolest thing ever. Katie and Keegan do not go to haunts. They do not like scary movies. They absolutely freaked out, and like Katie ran out of the shower and into the other shower where Keegan was because she did not want to be alone. Like she didn't even know he was in there. She like it was amazing. But after that, it was very much a like, oh, did you see that? Did you see that? Was that something? Oh my God, because
Yeah,
he had just created this great like heightened experience.
that's awesome. That
Yeah.
ship when you're aboard, I know the times I've walked around it. I get a feeling like I'm being watched. I mean, no matter where I go on that ship, it's like they're watching, but they're like a distance away. Whoever's watching, but it's just that kind of feeling I get.
I like it because I feel like I'm never alone.
Yes. See. Yep.
Like I love that ship. And like because we've known each other online for a long time, and
Yeah.
anybody who's followed me for a long time knows I am a huge Titanic fan. Like I am a Titanic fanatic. And so the Queen Mary is like the closest I'm gonna get to the Titanic, which was actually the reason I went there the first time
Hmm.
ever, because somebody was like, "Oh, there's this ship and it's really close to the Titanic, and I think you would like it." And so I went and I fell in love, and then I went back constantly. Um, but before the pandemic, I spent a lot of time on that ship, and I have been all over. I've stayed the night there numerous times. I've done the buffet and breakfast. I've eaten at all the restaurants. I've been in the ballrooms, but then I've also been in the engine room and the boiler room and,
Hmm.
little nooks and crannies that you don't normally get to go into. And I've been to the pool and like the old infirmary and just like everywhere. I've been everywhere on this ship. I've been ice skating on that ship. Like um but one of the things I love about it is that you really never feel alone.
Right.
Like there's always just somebody or people or something there hanging out with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I have some trivia for you. Now, the
Okay.
Queen Mary is 2 times bigger than the Titanic in length,
Mhm.
which is really interesting.
Right?
And it had the world. It had at that time it had the largest rudder ever put on a ship when it was built.
That's
And that
rad.
was probably due to the Titanic because the Titanic had such a small rudder, so they were going to make sure the Queen had a rudder. You know.
Right? It was
But
also what 20 years later,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think. Yeah.
But Queen Mary did have a tendency to yawl. Yawl is the word. Back and forth like that.
Yeah.
It had that tendency to do that. My dad told me that. My dad knew people that had come across from England during World War II. And he would tell me the stories about like when it ran the other ship and stuff because he heard it straightforward from the soldiers.
Yeah, there was actually I just mirrored my sorry, I just mirrored my camera and it flipped everything around because it was driving me bonkers that it was backwards. I'm so sorry, you guys. My bad.
Oh, it's all
Um,
good.
it was absolute. I'm like, my bed is not over here. This is gonna drive me nuts. So there was actually a time when they thought that the Queen Mary was going to keel over, um, because it can only go a certain degree
Hmm.
before it'll capsize. And it was like 1 degree off
Hmm.
from that amount, and it was this huge thing. They were sure that it was going to capsize, but she didn't.
No, she got right up. Well, that's how they got the idea for the Poseidon Adventure, based on the
Right.
history of the Queen. Yeah,
Oh
it's
my friend Chris is in the chat. Hi, Chris.
and it's interesting when you think that like when you look back and see the movies that it has been in. Where they've used it as a cruise ship. I think at one point in one of the earlier Titanic movies, it was used to be the Titanic.
Mhm. Yeah, it's been used in so many things. And there's actually there is a current Queen Mary movie, like horror movie that just got released like last month, but
Oh, I
it was
gotta check
released
that
in
out.
France. It hasn't been released here. It was released in France, and we were super excited about it. We did not know it wasn't going to be released here.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like ready. We were like ready to go see this movie. We had plans and the whole thing, and then I couldn't find it anywhere, and it was really weird. Yeah, but it's made by the same people who did Winchester. Did you see Winchester?
I saw Winchester. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's made by the same people who did Winchester, and they have done a Queen Mary movie. I'm so excited. I grew up in the Bay, so I grew up with the Winchester Mystery House, and I loved Winchester. Like, I thought it was a great spin on the story. So I'm
That's
super
awesome.
excited for the Queen
Let
Mary
me
movie.
ask you about the because the place where I get the creepiest feeling on that ship, and I don't know if it's because you can just see it so clearly, but it is where that propeller is. I mean, when I get into that propeller area, it's just I'm looking over my shoulder.
No, I've never really felt it down there,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel really comfortable below deck. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, so not only did my dad always have a boat, a sailboat or something like that,
Right.
but my grandfather had a oil tanker when I was younger. It was called the Yellowfin. And I grew up on that thing. So running all over this huge boat with these, giant propellers in the boiler rooms and all the rust and all of that, that was like a normal part of my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
So getting to go down there and just walk through the engine room and by the propeller and all of that stuff, I feel so comfortable. Like, I'm not even sure I would notice if there was, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, a cup could move next to me and I'd be like, yeah, that needed to go there anyways. But if you look at this, you'll see that this gauge is
I think you and I have had similar backgrounds in that my father we always had a boat. I grew up on an 18-foot boat, went to a 24-foot cruiser. So he was around boats, and he was a boat and a airplane nut.
Yes.
So I mean, we used to park at the airport, and he'd point all these planes out. I can tell you what's flying overhead, what engines are using, and that kind of thing. So I have the same fascination you do for like the Queen Mary. I mean, when I'm on the Queen Mary, people get bored with me because I'm down in the engine room. I'm looking at the gauges. I'm looking at all this stuff, and then then the eye rolls start behind me because I want to see all that stuff.
Right?
I love it.
We the last time we were there, we were in the old purser's office, which is really neat. That's where there's an elevator in the purser's office that obviously does not work. But there's a stool in the elevator, and there is always a rose on that stool. They keep a rose on that stool at all times for the person who stays there. But the purser's office is a really cool place to go. And you can feel that there's like a lot of stuff going on there. But when you walk past the purser's office and in, you can look down into the boiler room. So we're looking down, a couple of people that I was with were like, oh my God, that's so creepy, spooky, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, let's go. Down there. I want to go there, and I'm going to go there, and I want to go there.
Are you in equipment? Are you into using equipment when you're there, or do you just like going in and just feeling the atmosphere and stuff?
I don't want to overstep my bounds. You know what I mean? Well, wait, the boat stuff or the paranormal stuff?
Paranormal.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
I have my own reader. Okay, so I went and did a paranormal investigation on the Queen Mary with Grant. Oh my goodness, what's his last name? He had a show. He had a TV show.
Ghost Hunter Grant? Ghost Hunter Grant?
Maybe? I'll have to look that up.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so we went and we did a paranormal investigation with him. It was him and a few other people, and it was so much fun. But at the end of the night, he gave me his like reader thing.
Cool.
So
Reader thing.
I'll take that back.
Reader thing.
His reader thing.
His
You can
reader
tell
thing.
how good I am at this.
Good technical.
Yeah, no, I'm all about the ambiance too. But Becca and her team, they have it all. And she's got it all packed in this awesome little like suitcase.
Yeah.
Or her backpack. And I don't mean like a JanSport backpack. I mean like this thing is cool. EMF meter. Hey, look at that.
That's it. Thanks,
yeah,
Chris.
the thingy thing.
Yeah, the thingy that sometimes they light up, sometimes they don't. It's those thingies, yeah.
She has everything. And so everywhere you go on the ship, she'll set up, and you get to help her set up, and you get to hold the EMF readers. She's got like 4 or 5 of them, and then also she uses they're cat toys that are light up balls.
I heard of that, yeah.
And they're based on vibration. And one of the things I love about them is that you can put them down, and you can go and you can like stomp next to them on the floor, and they do not go off.
Mm-hmm.
You can walk it, and like she's not doing it. We're doing it, and we're placing them, and we're putting them down, and we're like stomping on the floor. We're like running next to them. We're like they do not go off. So when you're sitting there and you're like talking to someone,
mm-hmm.
and you go, you could set off any of these lights if you wanted to, if you want to communicate with us, a good way to do it. And one of those balls goes off, like that's not the ship vibrating,
right?
That's not like we couldn't get them to go off. So obviously it's not like an accident, that you know what I mean?
Right.
That feeling is so amazing, because you're just like, oh my god, like this is really, like this is happening,
mm-hmm.
Like the EMF reader, like some they'll go off at like sometimes cell phones or like radios,
right.
And so like it'll blip, and people are like, oh, and we're like, no, it's like it's if it goes red, it stays red,
right?
Cool. But like those cat toys are one of my favorites, because when one of those goes off, like something's there. And also we've done like the Estes method
right
numerous times, and some of the results are just unbelievable. We'll have the person like blindfolded with the noise canceling earphones and the whole thing, and some of the conversations, you're just like, they can hear us, right? Like the person in the earphones, they have to be able to hear us, because this is a real conversation, but they can't. Like,
mm-hmm.
It's amazing when stuff like that happens. It's absolutely amazing.
What gets me is if I'm on investigation, this has happened to us, where you get around 3, 4, 5 in the morning, everybody gets giggly because you're spent, and so you're talking about totally unrelated stuff, and then you get this EVP where the ghost chimes in.
Yes.
And it's a mind blower, because you're like, oh my god, somebody was sitting here listening to us talk.
Right?
Yeah.
I love that. And like Becca has some great rules that I love. Everything is talked about in present tense.
Mm-hmm.
Never ask, how did you die? Because these people may not know that they are dead. It's never what did you do on the ship. It's always what do you do on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's been tons of times when that's happened. We're just sitting there having a conversation, hanging out, because we're friends.
Right.
Like we're just hanging out. And the next thing you know, you're like, oh, hi. Okay.
I got a hit for you for a really cool piece of equipment. It's called Firefly in a Jar. You can only find them on eBay.
Okay.
And what it is, it's this wire. But there's this thing. There's this power thing that screws onto the top of a jar. You put the batteries up there. There's a wire that comes off this thing, and there's a little firefly that sits at the bottom of it. The only way to activate it is you have to tap the top of the jar.
Oh, neat.
And so you can ask yes and no questions and all
That's
this
cool.
stuff, but it's cool because the only way to activate that sucker, you can walk around it all you want. It's not going to activate, no vibration, no nothing. You have to touch the top of the jar. I've even had ghosts comment on it in EVPs.
I love that.
But it's called Firefly in a Jar.
Firefly in a Jar. I'm going to look that up.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Sometimes Walgreens gets them in stock, and then like a couple of years ago, Walgreens had them. I bought like 3 or 4 of them, and then the rest of the time I get them on eBay.
Nice. Nice. I'm just going to put one on my dresser. Just leave it on, freak out my husband every once in a while.
Well, I left it. I was showing my brother some of my equipment one time at his house, and I left it at his house. And I get this phone call, and he goes, "That thing's on my table." I said, "Okay, what about it?" He goes, "Well, it's moving. What do I do?" I said, "Well, say hello."
Be polite, say hello, start a conversation.
He says, "That's not very funny." I said, "It's not funny, just say hello, you know." But yeah, the ghosts love them.
That's awesome.
So,
I'm gonna check that out.
Firefly in a Jar. You know, that ship, just the history alone draws you in.
Yeah.
Just knowing what happened aboard there, you know, what they did even through World War II. I mean, it's called the Gray Ghost because a lot of people don't realize this either, is that, you know, when they took these ships and put them in the combat zones, they painted them gray. That's why they're the Gray Ghosts. You know, so it's had this huge history of going between the United States and England.
Yep.
Back and forth. But when you think of all the lives, all the energy that metal has taken in to hold all these years, you're going to get stuff going on. I mean, there's no question about it. No question about it.
There's a room on the ship called the Revenant Room. It is right in front of the robe hold, and if you're ever lucky enough to get to go in there, it's really cool. It's a really great room. But they have a hallway, and it has pictures of every person that has ever died on the ship.
Wow.
Yeah. If the person didn't have a picture, then it's like a placeholder picture, but it's got it's got all the names, it's got the dates, and then it's got pictures, and it's a whole hallway. And it's got how they passed.
That's cool for research, though. I mean, if you pick up a name or something during EVP session or whatever, or the psychic hears a name, you can run over there real fast and check it.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really neat. It's a really neat it's a really neat nod. It's a really neat little like memorial, but like there, a lot of people talk about Charlotte. She's the little girl.
Yeah.
Well, she never existed. There wasn't a little girl who died on the Queen Mary.
Okay.
That didn't happen. At least it wasn't documented.
So Lord knows what ran through me. So we'll see.
But
but
so many people have claimed to see her. So many have claimed to see her. So who says she's not there? I have a friend, and he has this theory that I love, and it's probably one of my favorites ever for like ghosts and spirits and hauntings and whatnot. And it's that you don't necessarily haunt where you die. Like that's not a thing, but you can go to a place that was really, really emotionally significant to you. Like maybe that's the place that you hold on to. So like another one of the most famous ghosts on the Queen Mary is the Lady in White.
Right.
She's a huge, super famous story. So many people have claimed to see her, but there's no record of her. But if you think about it, like so many people get married on the Queen Mary, and your wedding day is one of the happiest days of your life. So what if this woman is just reliving the happiest day of her life?
Right.
And I think that's so neat because it explains why so many people see the same thing over and over and over again, or have the same experiences over and over and over again, when there's no like technical record of it. So I always thought that was just a really cool, like, way to look at it.
And I can tell you too, there's a particular opera singer that haunts all the theaters in California, all the older theaters.
Like on tour.
Yeah, and she just goes. And the funny thing about it was, I met her. I'm going to say I met her at the Woodland Opera House, because I've gone up there 3 or 4 times. And so I went to the Sacramento Theater Company, and I always wondered that if you went to a different place, if a ghost would recognize you. So I'm getting my gear ready, and one of the psychics comes up and goes, "Hey, there's somebody on the stage who wants to talk to you." So I'm thinking it's another ghost center, right? So I go up on the stage and I said, "Well, where are they?" "Oh, she's over there. It's Madam. She wants to talk to you." And it was the opera singer from the Woodland Opera House.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I actually recognized that I was there. But she haunts. If you ever go into any old theaters like down in the LA area, Moore Park Theater, they say she's there. That she haunts that one too. But she's if it's an older theater, older opera house, or anything like that, she's there.
Yeah, I love that idea. Yeah. I love the idea of spirits being able to choose where they go and where they hang out, and and I like the idea of maybe they don't know that they've passed.
Right.
Maybe they just think they're getting up and going to work, especially like places on the Queen, like the Queen Mary, for all of the like the people that worked on the boat, who people claim to see over and over and over again. It's like maybe they think they're just getting up and going to work. Like this is just their normal thing.
It's their thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Thing. The other thing I was going to say, after you were talking about the little girl, I know there's a theory out there that a couple friends of mine had, who are no longer with us, that, in fact, there's a particular restaurant, I'm not going to say what it is up here, I don't want to piss people off, but there's a particular restaurant up here that they claim was never haunted to begin with, that the restaurant owner started the story to get people to come in, and then people over the years, like you say, have created this imprint.
Yes.
Of the ghost being in there, and the ghost really doesn't exist.
Yes, I love that. If enough people put enough energy into something, why not? Why not? And like, if I was a spirit, I'm an attention, not going to swear. But if I was a spirit and I was hanging out and I was doing nothing, and I heard that somebody had made up this story, and all these people were going to this place for this made up story, I can be her.
There you go.
Like, why not?
Absolutely.
I don't see any reason why not.
I know when I did the Sacramento Theater Company, I heard high heels clanking on the stage, and I guess there's a Hungarian transvestite actor.
Nice.
Who keeps coming back. And you hear him singing and stuff. It's funny, it's just fun stuff like that. People that are larger than life. It's like, and just like with the opera houses and stuff, a lot of the activity occurs after performance because the thing's charged, and you get the best EVPs and everything done. I'm as skeptical as the next guy. I really am. I've gotten more skeptical over the years, but we always need people like Roxy on staff. The poop heads. No, we always see people like Roxy on staff to keep that level. I mean, like my team is 60% believers, and then the 40% are the people that do the debunking.
Yeah.
To look at the logical part of it, and you have to have that to have a balanced investigation.
In the chat, Jessica, I think I know who that Jessica is, mentioned the haunted Toys R Us in Sunnyvale. Have you ever been there?
God, I have, and what a cool place.
Yes. Also, hi, Jessica.
That place is awesome.
Right? Yeah.
I'm going to haunt someplace. Toy stores are great. I'll do it.
Right?
You could play eternally.
Imagine how upset that spirit was when Toys R Us closed.
Yeah.
I'd been pissed. But it's, it's like people saying, that Disneyland is haunted, and and people see the spirits at Disneyland and whatnot. Well, sure. Who wouldn't want to hang out at Disneyland?
Oh, heck yeah. I don't know if I want to be stuck on the Haunted Mansion for eternity, but yeah, it would be fun, But yeah, for me, I would have to be over at I'd have to be over on Pirates.
Yeah.
I'd have to end up over at Pirates. I mean, I'm fine with the Haunted Mansion, but I don't know, too much of a good thing.
I think if I had to pick someplace to be stuck over,
God, don't say Small World.
no, although you could have so much fun.
But if it's your version of Small World, I'd go.
Like, you imagine the fun you could have haunting Small World. No, I'd pick Guardians.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Oh, that'd be cool.
Right?
People are scared
Like,
to death in there anyway for that drop. Just as soon as it gets dark, just tap someone on the shoulder and not be there.
right? Like, yeah.
It's sad because to be perfectly honest, I like Guardians, but I prefer it as the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror myself.
I did love the Tower of Terror, but I love that I can go to Disney World.
Right.
And go on the Tower of Terror.
See?
So,
I miss the Tower of Terror, but I liked it because obviously for the theming, because that's my thing. So that kind of stuff. Have you ever felt anything? Okay, I'm going to ask you this now that you brought up Disneyland. Have you ever felt anything at Disneyland? No.
No, and we've been there long after closing. We've been the last ones in the park, and not just recently, but years and years and years ago, before I hung out with the people I hang out with now. There were times where so one night we were in Napa Rose, and we decided that we wanted to go shopping on Main Street, but Disneyland had already closed. And they called the gate and they let us back in.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, we have been there late, and empty. We've done like the 24-hour events, like the whole thing. But no, I've never. And if I did, I don't even know if I would notice. Oh, there was that one time. Oh. Huh. You know what? Maybe. I forgot about that time a few months ago.
Where was that? Where'd that happen?
It's weird to talk about, and it's kind of a touchy subject to talk about. But it was by the parking garage a few months ago.
Okay.
So I'm not medium in any way, shape, or form. Okay. There could be a group of ghosts standing around me right now watching this interview, and I probably wouldn't even notice. Okay. I am not the, like, did you feel that? Like, do you, like, I'm not that girl. Like, I'm just not. Like,
right.
I don't feel shit. It's so sad. I want so badly to be that person, but I am not that person. I've never been that person. We'll be at places, especially like the Queen Mary and whatnot, and we'll be with people, and they're just like, "Oh my God, you can just like feel the presence," and like, "Do you guys feel that?" No. And I'm like, "No, I don't. Could somebody touch a light?" Like, but last year there was a death at Disneyland. And oh God, it was, I don't know, a few days afterwards. I was walking, it was middle of the day. I was walking from the parking structure towards security. And I get migraines. So I have to be, I porphyria, and part of my porphyria is serious light sensitivity. So I have to be really careful. And the sun wasn't quite down yet. So, so I was walking, and I was almost to the tent where you turn in to go to security. And I got this horrible pain in my head, and it like almost took me out. Like, I like kind of
Wow.
tripped a little bit and I faltered and I like almost went down, but they have that little barrier there. And so I
Right.
like grabbed onto it, and I like grabbed my head. And there were people walking behind me who, a lady actually grabbed me. And she was like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
Hmm.
Like, I'm like, I think I'm having a migraine. Like, I don't know. So she got security, and security came over. They took me, they sat me down in a planter, asked me all kinds of questions, and did this kind of thing, and asked if I wanted to see a nurse. And I was like,
Hmm.
no. First, they wanted to call 911. And I was like, absolutely not. No, I'll just go to my car and sleep it off if I need to. Um,
Hmm.
but not only did I have this horrible pain in my head, I was bawling, just absolutely, completely bawling. And I am not a crier. All right.
Right.
That is not me. Also, it messes up my makeup and I don't like it at all in any way, shape, or form. But I was bawling and I could not stop crying. And these poor security people are like, "Do you want us to call 911?" I'm like, "Absolutely not." They're like, "Can we get a nurse?" And I was like, "You know what? I'm meeting my friend Ashley. She is a nurse. So
Hmm.
maybe I could just wait for her." They were like, "That's fine, but you have to stay here until she gets here." I'm like, "Okay, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me." Sorry.
That's okay.
But um but something was wrong and I didn't know what. And I'm just like, I'm kind of tripping, because I'm like, oh my God, is like, am I having a brain aneurysm? Like, and like I wasn't sad. I just couldn't stop crying. It was just tears just pouring out of me. And one of the security guys comes over and sits down next to me and he took my hand and he was like, "Hey, I wanted to talk to you about something." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, what's up?" And I'm like, "Okay, sure," And he was like, "Do you have any type of are you sensitive at all?" And I was like, "I'm not a really sensitive person, no." And he was like, I mean, like psychically sensitive." And I'm like, "No." Like, I must have had the most confused look on my face you have ever seen in your entire life. And he was like, "Because something happened here a few days ago, and it was very close to where we are right now." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, I heard about it. I know what
Right.
happened."
Right.
And he was like, "And the person, when it happened, where they landed on their head is the exact same spot that
Wow.
your pain hit." And I was just like dumbfounded. This thought hadn't crossed my mind.
Hmm.
Like none of that at all. That would have never crossed my mind. But here's this Disneyland security guard sitting next to me, eh, eh, like asking me if I'm sensitive to psychic stuff because I got this pain in my head and I was crying and like this whole thing. And eventually the pain went away and I calmed down and, and then Ashley came and she got me and everything was okay.
Hmm.
But, I don't know. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Like, yeah, Cassie's in the chat and she said, "I remember when you talked about this when we had dinner at IHOP." Yeah, it was like, it was a thing. It was weird. And if he had never said anything, I would have never put those two things together
Hmm.
at all. I would have just assumed I had a migraine and I don't know, maybe some pollen got in my nose. So,
Hmm.
like that's the kind of person I am. But like it was so weird. The whole thing was so weird. I've never experienced anything like it. I've never, not before then, not since then, not anything. And I wouldn't have even chalked it up to anything like that if he hadn't have sat down and started talking to me.
Hmm.
But he did. And
Hmm.
he put, like, he planted that seed. Um and it just stuck with me. Like, but nothing like that has ever happened before, ever. But yeah, I guess if you want to know if I've had any type of experience at Disneyland, that would be it.
Sometimes you just hit the right spot at the right time, and you have
Yeah,
experiences like that.
it was crazy.
I
It
know
was
there's times you live down Southern California, so there's a lot of traffic. Okay, I know there's times because I don't have AC in my car right now, and I know there's times when I'm driving down the freeway, and I've noticed this over the years. This is not just something that has come up, but I will be driving down the freeway and hit cold spots on the freeway. Then later on, you do the research and find out there was a fatal there.
Makes sense.
But yeah, guys, you can do that. Out in the real world, roll your windows down in the summer and drive down the freeway and see the cold spots, to see where they're at.
I don't know if that sounds like such a great idea. This whole no AC thing.
I don't do well. I don't go out unless I have to. It's always in the evenings because it's no thing really sucks, especially when it's 110 here.
Oh my God! Right?
I don't do heat well.
This heat wave is over.
Yeah, I don't do heat well.
It was so bad.
I'm like you. I don't do heat well.
Yeah, no, not at all. At all.
It doesn't agree with me.
That's it. That would be my one Disneyland.
Cool.
But
well, you talked about your witchcraft thing. What I mean, obviously, like it was in your family. And you saw your grandmother and stuff, doing this. What really got you into the paranormal, as far as ghosts and stuff go?
Time Life books.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Time Life books. There was a so for those of you that are too young, back in the 80s, we had these books called Time Life books, and you could order all these different collections. But they had this one collection, and my grandma bought me two of them. One was black and it was ghosts, and one was red and it was wizards and witches. And I still have both of them somewhere in my garage. But that was the first ghost story, ghost book that I ever got. And I couldn't read the stories. I didn't really understand but the pictures were so pretty, and they had these sometimes they had little blurbs, and whatnot. And I couldn't read the whole stories, but I could read the little blurbs. And so I kind of got what was going on. But Time Life books, that was it, hands down.
I remember those. I have two of them, and that's where I first learned about doppelgangers.
Yes. Oh my God. The girl in the mirror.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
That was so freaky.
Nodding in the window, tapping on the stair, a fetch waits patiently for its victim to appear. It took a living woman's shape, and when she saw it beside her, she knew her time had come. The fetch or double summons mortals to the grave. That was my favorite part of the book.
I can still remember that face, looking over the shoulder into the mirror.
That was my absolute favorite part of the book. I loved it. But yeah, that was it. That was it. And then I read a book when I was little called Wait Till Helen Comes. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
I have, yeah.
But that was like the cherry on top. As I read this book called Wait Till Helen Comes. I still have a copy of that as well. And it's about this little ghost girl, and I just fell in love. Absolutely, totally in love with paranormal everything. So,
see, I grew up in an active house, saw stuff when I was a kid. Everybody said, "Oh, you've got this huge imagination." That's how it went. Then I got to a certain age, and it kind of all shut down. Then when I hit my 20s, it started to come back because I started to really get back into this stuff, and so I saw more of my house. So I'm still in the house; it's still active. I've just gotten to the point where we have an agreement. I'm like, "Hey, I know you're here. I know you're here. Don't scare me."
Right?
But
Let's
things still do happen. I mean, still weird things still happen in this house, and my friends witness it when they come over too. I mean, it's crazy. It's my animals are forever looking into the distance in my house, whatever's there. And it's the night, in the darkness, and I'm just like, okay, I'm good. But
When
there's the golden rule is we don't do EVP work in the house. We don't want to hear them. We don't do any investigating in the house. But I know they're there. It's a full house, and I know where the portal and the vortexes are and all that stuff. So
that's awesome. I love that. When my son was a baby, we believe that babies and animals can see stuff that we can't. And so when my son was a baby and he'd be like laying there and just talking, or when he was when he was little and he'd be just talking to the ceiling or to whatever, and Skylar's autistic. So
right.
he didn't actually talk until he was like 6 or 7 years old. But he would, he'd babble. He had his own language. And I'd walk in the room and he'd be, staring at the ceiling, no toys, no nothing, staring at the ceiling, just having this full conversation with who knows how many people. And so I'd walk in and be like, hey guys, it's bedtime now. I need everybody to go home. But I fully believed that he had friends that were just hanging out with him. And
a lot of autistic kids do, though. They see that stuff.
Yeah.
That's well documented that they see that stuff, But as long as it's family, who cares? If it's a good family ghost, who cares? It's the negative stuff you gotta watch out for.
Even if it wasn't, even if it was just, as long as they're nice, I don't care.
Yeah, as long as they don't cause issues.
Yeah. And he seemed happy. So the biggest issue we ever had was that I would have to go back into his room and I would literally have to say, okay, you guys, it's bedtime. Everybody needs to leave now.
Have you ever, when you leave an investigation, do you do anything to make sure that nothing negative follows you back or that nothing follows you back?
No.
Okay.
Becca does.
Okay.
She does. She'll do, she'll be very clear about you are not welcome to follow us home. Stay here. Don't come with us. Like that whole thing. But no, I'm not even going to lie. I've invited them. I'm like, if you want to come home with me, it's cool. We can party. I'm like, if you'll just help me out,
right.
Just move some stuff, I'm not trying to be mean and tell you to do like party tricks, but let me know you're there. You watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Okay,
yep.
we all did. I always wanted a spirit like Cordelia's.
There you go.
When she was on Angel, her apartment was haunted,
right?
And he would draw her a bath and make her tea. I was like, yes, come home with me.
Well, this has been great. It's been a fun hour. I knew it would be.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I had so much fun.
It was fun. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Yes. And we'll have to get together and do an investigation.
Yes. And like I said, like I do, I thank you for all your help. Roxy's been kind of like my mentor going through all this because I had no idea what influencers did or what it was. And then all of a sudden I find myself doing this stuff, and I'm like, what do I do? What do I have to do on TikTok? Roxy's been helping me out. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing all that.
You're welcome.
How can people find you?
Oh, you can find me on my website, welcome-to-roxysworld.com. All of my links are there. There's a lot. And on any social media network at Roxy_Tart.
Fantastic.
Those links are also on my website, welcome-to-roxysworld.com.
Fantastic.
And you can get my book there too. I actually meant to have my book, so I could.
I forgot about the book. I'm so sorry.
It's fine. So did I. I got a stack in another room.
I should have
But
had a V8. Oh, okay, yeah.
I have a book and it's awesome. It's called Witchcraft for Wellness, and you can get it on Amazon, and you can find the link to that on my website, welcome to roxysworld.com.
Bad host, bad.
I forgot my own book, okay? Oh, Marissa. Thank you for hanging out. I hope you had fun.
It happens, right? All right, well, I'm going to let you go, and maybe we'll chat later tonight or something over on Discord. But Roxy, thank you. And I'm definitely going to try. I want to make it a point to get out there and get together, do a ghost hunt, have dinner, do whatever, just to hang out and do some stuff together.
How can you get an autographed copy of my book? Oh, that's DM me.
Cool.
DM me.
Cool. That works.
I'll sign it for you. Maybe I'll put a picture in. Right.
Just that works. All right, guys. All right. Well, thank you very much.
All right.
Okay. Bye, Rox. All right. That's always fun to talk with her. And like I said, I thank her for helping me all this time because I'm forever picking her brain for stuff. Tomorrow, I will be here at 11 a.m. Pacific. God forbid I have to get up early. But my guest is from the UK, so we're going to be doing an 11 a.m. show. James Bartley is going to be with us, and we're going to be talking about how aliens can have the possibility that aliens can control us via frequencies and stuff. So he's going to be on tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific with me. So that being said, if you like the show, share it with 5 people. If you hated the show, share it with 5 of your enemies. We're equal opportunity here. I'm just trying to build up my following like everybody else over on Facebook. And if you haven't followed yet, and you like tonight, feel free to follow over on Facebook and YouTube. We are trying to hit that 1,000 mark by Christmas. That'd be a great Christmas present. Hit that 1,000 subscriber mark. I've got 761 videos sitting at YouTube, all of this show. And there are all kinds of topics. I have everything categorized in folders so you can get the stuff better. If you like psychics, Nancy Matz has her own folder. Karen Clark has her own folder. UFOs, alien abductions, cryptids, you name it, it's all over there. We handle it all. Okay, so go ahead and check out our YouTube site at youtube.com/@California Haunts Radio. All right, guys, I'm going to call it a night, and I will see you tomorrow, 11 a.m. with James Bartley. Have a good one.